May I say a few words for Verma ji?
Yes, you can start.
Yeah.
You can.
Okay. Speaker, my friend, after completing his PhD degree in genetics in 1973 from IARI New Delhi, Dr. Verma joined first batch of All India ARS. He worked on wheat and cotton. Innovative research interested him, resulting into good research publication in challenging fields in warmer areas. Dr. Verma retired as principal scientist and head IARI Wheat Research Station Indore in 2009. His hobbies are photography, bird watching, gardening, and of course reading and writing. Mr. Verma, now you can start speaking, please.
Thank you, Sushil ji. Thank you so much. Friends, good evening. Actually, wherever I got a spark, reading something or listening to someone, I wanted to share it. Whatever gave me a spark sometime, I always love to share it the same day, but it's not possible always. So I took up this, specifically this topic, communion with the teachings. To my understanding, teaching don't belong to anyone, to a person or symbol. Nobody can claim the teachings as his or her. It is the whisperings of the knower present in all of us and around us. Our conditioning decides how and from where we receive it. We live to be, we love to be under some authority, seeing the vastness of the external world, so-called external, seen by so-called internal. Teacher and the receiver both are consciousness in a timeless and spaceless dimension. Both are in me. Whatever the conditions of that me is, the more this me sees, reads, listens, and learns, the more it wants to share. To be blank again, so that fresh life comes in. Communion for me is much more than the Google meaning as sharing of intimate thoughts and feelings on a mental or spiritual level, because most of it is never, it's however, it's communication, it's a non-verbal communication between observer and the observed towards an understanding of a living order. This is what communion is all about. Sight, sight and sound become one, giving a clarity of the moment. So this is what I feel, and this I wanted to share as my personal as well as what you call a collective understanding. Communion is a must if one wants to perceive the things as they are. To me, it is not a time-dependent process, or rather not a process at all. It happens instantly. Things and events are changing faster than the cognition. Our cognition takes a little more time to cognize anything. The things have already happened. Only in awareness, one can enjoy this where life lives completely. We often hear these words. Why is it that nobody could truly understand the teachings of JK? As per what he said at the end of his life, this is often quoted in different contexts. Krishna ji talked about communion. To be in communion with each other, we must be, both of us, serious about the same problem at the same time with the same passion, directly in contact, no interpretations with what is. So this is what we have heard so many times. It is being quoted several times that nobody could understand what he wanted to share, or got that what he wanted to share. But I have a very different thinking. I see it very differently. Usually we think that communion is possible in human relationships only between man and man. Of course, women also. To my understanding, man has a great potential to commune with almost anything in anyone, including plants, rocks, the whole animal kingdom. This is little bit experiential learning for me. I have enjoyed it throughout in my career also. The whole manifestation is teaching us, provided our receptors are ready, it works immediately and life changes forever. A number of mythological stories and historical events are full of such instances when someone changed forever by seeing reality. You see, invariably we hear this word very, the seeing is very important. Seeing is perception, and perception is action. Allow me to share with you a dramatic happening in the life of Dattaram Gawand, popularly called, lovingly called Dada. Of course, Harshad Bhai knows him pretty well because he happened to be his host sometime. So, as shared by him in his autobiography, autobiography is also here. Here very interesting things start. You will find how teachings penetrate each other. Intelligence beyond thought, that is the autobiography of Dada Gawand. The hunter hunted down, this is the subtitle. Hunting was his hobby and pastime. Suddenly I saw a big rabbit. I took aim and fired, but this time my shot was not very accurate. The rabbit was only wounded and fell down, jumping frantically in order to escape. I ran over to where the rabbit writhed in pain. I came close to him. I saw the fear in his eyes, in every jerk of his body. In those few seconds, I became instantly aware of the dying animal's fight for life. Something in me whispered quietly, what right do I have to take the life of this little one? Is it only because I have the large gun in my hand? I saw clearly my aggressive mind of a hunter. This changed my entire outlook. This is what happens when you can see things as they are. I stopped hunting, deposited my gun with the collector, and stopped eating meat for rest of my life. Dada Gawand had dialogues with Krishnamurti in Bombay, in Theosophical Society, Chennai. The much awaited moment, now I am quoting him, the much awaited moment came when Krishnaji himself opened the door. He looked at me and his first sentence was, oh, you are in your new beard? You are in your new beard? And without hesitatingly, I replied, Krishnaji, it is not only the beard. that is new, but there is something new behind the beard. For a moment, he was taken by surprise and he looked at me so piercingly as if looking through me with X-ray eyes. Then he took me by the hand and went inside. He gestured and we sat together on the floor. He said simply, "Tell me about it," and then took my hand, holding it tightly. Krishnamurti regarded me intently, lovingly, and again said, "Tell me all about it." Then I narrated the whole story of my stay in the hut on Mount Sajjangarh and the explosion I experienced there on that mysterious day. Krishnaji suggested, "Let that energy act on its own." This was the Krishnamurti's suggestion. Listen, hearing Dada Gavan. The meeting lasted about 30 minutes. My time was up. So I arose and said, "Krishnaji, thank you. Thank you so much." Without thinking about it, I opened my arms to embrace him. And he, in an uncommon practice for Krishnaji, also moved to hug me. To see the joy on his face was so uplifting that gave me profound satisfaction and a sense of fulfillment. Was this the real communion? Was this the real communion? These are my words. Physical, mental, and spiritual. I feel like saying yes. It was one of the most intense moments of happiness in my life. These are Dada's words. He had miles to go. He visited US and stayed there long enough. In his two memorable trips, a number of European countries, especially Switzerland, and touched most of the places Krishnaji delivered his talks. He not only understood but lived the teachings. His important books are Beyond the Mind, Towards the Unknown, you see, and uh, Pilgrimage unto Oneself. Another book is Intuitive Intelligence, A Way Within and Without. These are the photo poems by Dada Gaman. He was a good photographer. I met him in Thane when he was almost not meeting anyone. He allowed me to be in where he was alone. I was overwhelmed and overwhelmed and tears automatically gushed out. He blessed me, gave prasad. I will share with you 3 paragraphs from his book, Beyond the Mind. Then you will appreciate the whether teaching belongs to this fellow or that fellow or that fellow. When we were listening to Krishna ji, so many people reminded of the same teachings from Buddha. So likewise, if you see, if you listen to Mr. M, he was also associated with Krishna ji. A number of people who were associated with Krishna ji, how those teachings entered these fellows. And so this is not a fact that nobody got it. People got according to receptors they had. So I will just read whatever I thought was first. The quietude that comes after realizing the limitations and ignorance of the mind begins to show the symptoms of a new intelligence. This inner silence is not enforced by the will. It is the outcome of deep insight and understanding the realities of life. Therefore, this silence is intelligent and eloquent. And out of this silence of inner space emerges the whisper of truth through an intuitive flash. Silence is a state of aloneness, which is absolute. It is a state of surrender to life, the unknown. To face the unknown is to be free from all the reactions of the known, which is the mind. In facing the unknown, the energy becomes pure and sensitive to capture the new wavelength that flashes from beyond the frontiers of mind. Next paragraph I would like to share with you. To link up the heart energy to the mind. To link up the heart energy to the mind. What a big idea. Are you not imagining? First, you will have to discover the heart energy. Otherwise, the mind is going to play its clever game. Can the heart be in operation when the mind is active? Find out. Heart energy is not the sentimental or emotional part of the mind. Heart comes into existence when the mind understands all its illusions and cravings and becomes silent in meditative attention. Establish this meditative attention first, which is living in heart. You had that contact once, but now the mind has become busy. Do not just fragment the heart energy. Whenever you feel like it, I do not want you to scatter that precious energy. Do you find now? Do you find JP or do you find Buddha here? Another last one. I'll take 5 more minutes probably. Ah, intellect. Harshad Bhai has been talking a lot about this intellect, intelligence, and intuitions, and intellect is the cleverness born out of personal experiences of the past, whereas intelligence is the movement of energy in the present, uncontaminated by the personal past. This is so very important. We all have to recall and recount how do we recall our past experiences again and again and enjoy. Intellect is born out of the bondage of thought, but intelligence is the flight of energy which comes with freedom from thought. Do you find JK here? Intellect and its logic perpetuate bondage. Intellect and its logic perpetuate bondage while intelligence liberates. Such intelligence is the beginning of wisdom, as it is completely free from old personal, cultural, and environmental ties. One has to cross the frontiers of one's own personal mind and jump beyond to capture the ecstasy of universal intelligence through meditation. Meditation is the state in which you see the limitations and fallacies of all the promptings of intellect and yet remain awake and free within. Meditation is not the pursuit of any wishful idea or a thought activity, but is the very negation of it. Meditation is a state where there is no concentration of thought anywhere, but is the attention of sensitivity everywhere. Meditation is intense sensitivity of polyangular attention within. Polyangular attention within. Meditation is the constant vigilance of energy in the present concerning all mind activity. Meditation is the way of crossing the frontiers of mind. Meditation is understanding the whole structure of the mind as it is in action. Meditation is a plunge into oneself. Meditation is a plunge into oneself to fathom the depths of one's own being. So these 3 paragraphs I wanted to share with you because I didn't want it to be a long lecture so that one starts yawning, feeling bored. So this much is enough for us to, to be with ourselves, to be with ourselves all the time, and then see whose teachings are these, whose teachings are these. Teachings actually, my friends, it doesn't belong to anyone. JP had been telling time and again, nature is the greatest teacher. You see, I can now imagine when the scriptures were written, when the Upanishad, Vedic time, then Upanishads were written at the end of each Veda. So they have not written any name there, no proprieties, nothing doing. And all that thing then came and it merged with Buddhism. Buddhism affected Vedic things. So ultimately, whose teachings are merging with whose? So the the river of wisdom is actually, it's all natural. We are a part of nature. We are a very much part of nature with lot of intellect as well as intelligence. We are the knower and the known, and we have immense potential to be much more, to carve a life, a society which is much more peaceful, much more loving. The only thing, when this when the wisdom was could be given only as words, whether Upanishadic or whether it is as Buddhism, the moment it become ism, the moment it become organized, the moment it become everything, then contemporary Jainism also the same thing. They are almost contemporaries, not very different. One believed in Atma, another is Anatma, and like that. So, whose teachings are they? Nature, nature through man, how it became word is a very interesting thing. How para became Pashyanti and Pashyanti became Vaikari. So one has to, so it is ultimately, and we started thinking ourselves as different. Each of us is very different, and not only glorifying difference, that is the beauty. So that is what is being done now. If you want power, then you have to have certain things like this. But otherwise, things are not that difficult, my friends. So this is what, in short, I think I have taken almost half an hour or so. So this is all I have to say. If you go, if you want to ask certain question, I don't mind. Please go ahead. It's open for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Pradeep ji. Harshad Parekh sir, would you please add something in this?
Yes. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Very well.
Yeah. Thank you, Pradeep ji. It is a very, very interesting topic, communion. And as you said in the beginning, that in this communion, which happens very rarely between two human beings, when something non-verbal connection happens between two people, and that it cannot be planned, it cannot be done by will or willpower, but it happens when um, it happened to me with Krishna ji in California, Ohio, and it was not talking with each other, but we were listening to a music, some bhajans by Lakshmi Shankar. She had come to sing bhajans for Krishna ji, and and we were all waiting for Krishna ji. We all musicians had come. I was sitting very close to musician, and then suddenly something began to happen to my whole body, my brain, and then I saw Krishna ji coming and taking his seat. And I did not look at him, but it seemed like there was a connection between two people. And I don't think he did it, but it happened. And when I came out after that music program, I felt that something new has happened to my whole brain, and everything looked so wonderful, so clear, and very beautiful. It's like looking at the mountains, everything. And even one can look at Krishna ji like that, not with the feeling that here is a great person or a great teacher, but And that had happened to me even before this experience of communion in 1977, when I came close to him, and his mind was not there, and my mind also stopped. And then I extended my hand. He took my hand, and without saying anything, non-verbal meeting, but I felt what real relationship means when two people, when they look at each other without the mind, without the thinking. And that's why he was probably in that state most of the time. And that is why he was asking questions, even to little children. How do you look at a tree? How do you look at the face of your friend or husband or wife? Because he was saying that there is a different way of looking when the mind is silent, and in that there is a real love and beauty exists. So this is what I learned even from the books of Krishnamurti in the beginning, and later on with with him. And many times this kind of communion was happening uh, without knowing that he was around. Because first time when I visited Lockwood Park, and Mr. Narayan, the principal, took me to the grove, a beautiful grove with a giant redwood trees and beautiful flowers. And I was looking at the tree. It looked so beautiful. It was like radiating light. It's a sacred tree. And I asked Mr. Narayan how much the foundation paid to get all these buildings and the land, school land, and this grove. And he says 40,000 pounds. Then I said, this one tree looks like 40,000 pounds to me. It was so beautiful. And because I had traveled a long distance from Canada to Brookwood, and I was really tired, but when I was looking at that tree, all my tiredness was gone. And then Mr. Narayan said, look, who is there? And Krishnaji was there in the grove, and he was looking at us. So I felt that there was some kind of communion and kind of a blessings coming from him. So it is mostly non-verbal. It cannot be planned. But when two human beings are, sometimes it may not be even physically close to each other, and it can happen. So, uh, and I, about Dadaji, when I was in Brookwood Park in 1989, in the school library, I saw a book, Beyond the Mind. And when I started reading, I said, this person is writing very similar to Krishnamurti. And I liked the book, and I gave that book to my friend, Italian friend, and he read the book, and he was interested in knowing who is this Dadaji. So he asked me to find out. So I found out his address. I wrote a letter to him. We had some communication, and then one day in my hometown, I saw Dadaji had come to give a talk, and I went to meet him. And at that time, I was a teacher in Rishi Valley. And so I told him that if you like to visit Rishi Valley, you are welcome as my guest. And then he was in Bangalore a few years after that, and he wrote to me that he would like to visit Rishi Valley. So I said, you are welcome. And so he came to Rishi Valley with some few people, and he wanted to give a talk, and he started giving a talk. He was talking very beautifully, but there were other teachers. They wanted to have a dialogue with him. So I had to stop Dadaji, and I said, let us have a dialogue. And so we had a dialogue. And even before he gave this talk, we had one-to-one dialogue also. And after that dialogue, Dadaji said we could have taped this, our dialogue. So he was, no doubt, he had got something either from Krishnamurti or from his own meditation. Uh, and when we understand ourselves, our own mind, we can see clearly, then we begin to understand all these spiritual teachings. Though the words, they may seem different, the concepts may seem different, like Raman Maharshi may use the word true self. And then people who are associated with Krishnamurti, they say, no, there is no true self. They will say self is a product of thinking only. But they don't understand the what is true self means. In Krishnamurti's terminology, true self could be equated to the choiceless awareness, which exists even when the thinking does not exist. So, true self exists even in the absence of thinking, and this true self can see the false self which is created by thought, the ego. So, all this requires a meditation into one's own mind very, very clearly. And then we can understand Krishnamurti or Dadaji or Upanishad or Buddha or any other teacher, Kabir. They are telling in essence the same thing, but the words are there different. And so people who are just doing study, intellectual study, they will not understand. And they will think that they are talking, these two people are talking contradictory philosophy, but it is not like that. One has to go within oneself. And then we are at the same level, as Krishnaji says, with the same intensity and listening without interpreting. And so that is the difficulty many people have of listening with a silent mind. And if a person listens with a silent mind, he will say whatever Krishnamurti says is yes, it is obvious. It is like saying that when there is light, there is no darkness. It is very obvious. So most of the thing, like Krishnaji says, when the thinker is there, there is no real understanding. When there is a thinking, the real understanding happens through a silent mind. So, and other thing what I like to say is about a person called Derek Cook, and he is a trustee of the Krishnamurti Foundation of England, and he was a butcher, and he used to kill animals. But one day, when he was killing a chicken, he saw in the eyes of the chicken something, and some transformation happened in him. And then he came close to Krishnaji and he became a foundation member. So he had a restaurant, and the name of the restaurant was Enlightened Butcher's Restaurant. And it was a very good restaurant, good business he had. And he was a very nice human being, very, very humorous, and was telling many beautiful stories with a deep meaning, with music. He was a very good storyteller. So, um, about the mind and heart, Krishnaji has also written one article called Love in Relationship, that how the love which is at the level of the mind, it corrupts the heart. So only when the heart and the mind, they are very, very uh, pure, uh, alert, awake, non-verbal, then love exists. So love in relationship is a purifying process as it reveals the ways of the self. And without this revelation, love has very little significance. So Krishnaji had gone very, very deep into within himself, and I think that his understanding came from walking in nature alone, just like Tagore and Krishnamurti and many other poets. They get the insight by looking at nature and also looking within themselves. Their understanding does not come from reading books. Even Kabir also says, Pothi padi padi jag mua, Pandit hua na koi, Dhai akshar prem ka, Padhe so Pandit hoy. So the real mystic, the real people who have understood, they have understood non-verbally by looking at nature and their own mind very, very clearly. And then when they read Upanishad or Buddha, they will say, yes, that is true. Whether Krishnamurti or Kabir or Upanishad or Buddha, the teachings underneath, they are the same. Okay, I have said enough. Thank you very much.
Dinesh.
Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yeah, we are able to listen.
First of all, thank you, Verma ji, because you have chosen a subject considering the whole teachings, and you have not considered any particular aspect of teaching. What Verma ji and Harshad sir had got their own views. I would also like to express my own views on this. But I would like to stick to the subject and talk about the other side of it. So let us start. Dictionary meaning, as Verma ji said, communion with somebody or something, or to get very close to someone or something by exchanging feelings or thoughts. This is what communing means. To commune with JK teachings is an arduous task if one really wants to understand. The reason being, the teachings are scattered over the years. They are not linear, or they are complex rather, and they are not linear. Second, the teachings had been given with reference to or considering the mindset of people or public or persons sitting in front of him, or situations then exist or issues to be stressed or pushed by him. Third point, the teachings are made up of words about which the listener has got his own mindset or understanding of the meaning, whereas the dictionary meaning shows various aspects about which is unknown, and many times JK has used the words with his specific meaning. Even JK meaning of the word changes with the reference to the subject or in a particular context. One example is word reality, which in earlier years he used to use differently, and in the later years for thought world. Next point, point number 5. Any particular lecture on a day does not cover the total aspects of the subject. Point number 6. JK had not done any spoon feeding or given any crutches to the reader. Point number 7. JK had not given any method to follow or given answer to how. Point number 8. At many places, JK had asked questions which indicate to explore the possibility of the issue or matter discussed, but the reader under influence considers this as answer or solution. Point number 9. Many a times in a particular lecture, it is difficult to understand where the JK is driving at, in which direction the lecture is going, or what is the aim, or what is the intent of JK. Point number 10. Sometimes it is difficult to understand what really he means to convey. For example, when he says, quote, you have to understand this actually and not verbally or intellectually. Are you seeing this, sir, and understanding fully, wholly with your heart, with your blood and the total system of yours? Unquote. It is also interesting to see what JK himself says. The relationship between speech, word, thought, and silence. So, what do we mean by the word understanding? To understand something, what is implied in it? Is it a verbal understanding, a comprehension through verbal description, a comprehension through affection? I like you, I am friend with you, I tell you something, therefore you understand what I am saying. Or does understanding take place not merely through words, not merely through description, but going beyond the words, which means both you and the other are free of verbal structure, which is nature of thought, and penetrating and having an insight. You understand? An insight means having a sight in something which then becomes the truth. And I can never go back from it. It is immovable. So, how do you receive the statement of speaker? What is your reaction? Do you make of it into idea and abstraction, and with that try to understand what he is saying, or you listen to the word, the meaning of it, and go beyond the word and see the truth or the falseness of that statement. Such his statements are really require serious, honest working to understand. Point number 11. For a new or an immature reader, JK statement like the ending of sorrow is the beginning of wisdom, or truth is a pathless land, negation is most positive action, are mysterious statements, and he has not explained in details what he means to say and left it for reader to work on it and understand. Point number 12. For a new reader, it is difficult to understand that at many places JK has raised an issue just to show the opposite polarity of it or the other side of it, so as to clarify the total structure of it. In duality, you cannot understand an issue or know its structure unless you understand opposite polarity of it. For example, to understand light, one has to understand darkness also. So to understand negation, one has to understand both positive action as well as negative action. Point number 13. Many places he has made statement just to awaken people. 14th. In teaching, it is difficult to understand the relationship between or link between the words like awareness, choiceless or passive awareness, attention, etc. Many places, point number 15, many places he has made statements which suits to his individuality. The individual should go for self-knowing and check whether it applies to him, or he has to work to find out his own way out in a similar way, considering his individuality, his situation, his capacity, his capability, his resources, support, etc. So these are the 15 points which I could gather today. There may be more points, but these are the basic 15 points. So I dare say that in my views, the teachings are like puzzle for a novice or a new reader. So I dare say that in my views, the teachings are like puzzle or novice for a new reader, like a riddle for an advanced beginner, and like dynamic maze for a serious, honest, competent, or proficient explorer. As a humor, I would like to say that he has played divine chess. As a humor, I would like to say that he has played divine chess. So these are my views, and these are if anybody wants to go through the JK teachings, he should also considering all these points, so that things may become easy for him, and he may go or move ahead easily. Thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, there was one professor who had studied Krishnamurti teachings for 30 years, and he came to Rishi Valley to meet Krishnaji. And the professor said to Krishnaji that I have studied your teachings for 30 years, but I have not moved. That means I have not changed. And Krishnaji said, you have not moved because you have not stopped. What does it mean? What does it mean that the professor had gathered a lot of ideas and he was teaching Krishnamurti in the university students, but it was all intellectual study. If he had really stopped gathering the knowledge of Krishnamurti teachings and had gone within his own mind, look at his own fear, anger, jealousy in relationship, and seen it very clearly, he could have understood Krishnamurti very quickly. Within maybe 1 year or even 1 month or even one reading, when a person becomes very curious, when Krishnamurti says that all our problems are arising from thinking, and from thinking comes this sense of I or me, and then this I or me wants to change, want to become somebody, not want to be, but want to become, means want to become free. So there is a conflict when a person cannot see things as they are, but wants to be something else. If I have a fear and I want to become free from fear, then there is a conflict. But if I can really see the beginning of a fear, because that fear will come from thinking only, that means I have to be very, very alert to everything which is happening, the thoughts. So when a person becomes very, very curious to look at his own mind, how these thoughts are coming, and if he is able to see clearly the beginning of a thought, and that itself requires a freedom to see. And that's why Krishnaji says, freedom is at the beginning. So that is the difficulty why most people find Krishnamurti teachings very puzzling, as Dinesh said, because they are trying to understand through a conceptual mind, Krishnamurti. And that will create more conflicts in many, many people if they are just using their intellect. But as Pradeep ji said, and I also say that intelligence is something different. Intellect will create many conflicts, many likes and dislikes. It is based on logic, thoughts, thinking. But intelligence is the silent mind which can see everything as it is. And that is very rare. And Krishnaji is talking about that. And through that intelligence, one can use intellect properly. But the intellect itself cannot lead to intelligence because intellect is in the plane of thinking and feeling, and intelligence is outside the plane of thinking and feeling, is looking non-verbally. That is awareness, what Krishnaji calls choiceless awareness or intelligence. So the whole teachings becomes very simple if we are able to look at our own mind and forget everything what Krishnaji has said and not base our understanding on Krishnamurti, because Krishnamurti can also at one time he can say one thing and the other time he may go something up different. And so sometimes people say that Krishnaji is not consistent. And Krishnaji said, no, one cannot be consistent in this because everything is moment by moment changing. So at one time you may say one thing, and the other time it may be different. So one has to go beyond the word, beyond the feeling, to catch, and that requires a communion with the speaker. Because without that communion, it becomes very difficult, very intellectual, and very creates many conflicts. And that has happened to many people, and then they get lost. So I would say that Krishnamurti's teachings can be understood only if we have the ability to look clearly at our own mind, moment by moment, seeing how fear arises, or loneliness, or boredom, or jealousy, or anger, when we are very, very much interested not in becoming free, but in seeing things as they are. And that is the real intelligence. Okay, I will finish. Thank you.
Can I
Dinesh,
make a comment?
you are raising the hand always.
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Let speaker say something and then just,
because
just try to make your
after
raise the hand back.
after listening after listening to Dinesh and his 15 points, I also have to say certain things, because are we trying to understand Krishnamurti
Right.
or ourselves,
Hmm.
or ourselves through Krishnamurti, ourselves through Ramana? We don't listen at all to anyone. We have no regards for even Ramana or Krishnamurti, Muji. You listen, Nisarg, that anyone, because we ourselves, everybody, you see the difference here. Everybody doesn't divide the so-called teachings into 15 points. One person has done it. So he has to see himself whether this 15 into 15 is not everybody's food. You see, so ultimately, we say that be unto a light unto yourself, and then we analyze and collect data from different places. Do you still believe that real teachings are time bound? That's why they will change over the time and space. This question was asked to Krishnamurti. Have you changed when you were in theosophy, when you were out of theosophical society, and throughout over a period of 5-6 decades? Have you changed? Have you? So he never said it is my teaching, first thing. Then he said, no, there is no change in that. But when I am perceiving change in that, what does it mean? I become all those, some people are like that, some people are like that. So I am dividing myself in 1,000 type of persons. One person thinking about 1,000 imaginary persons, and then saying that the seer and the teacher is playing a game, with chess game, with as if he is fooling, mischievous. How can it be? This is the regard we give to our gurus. This is the regard we give. Ultimately, if you forget about Krishnamurti, you simply say what Ramana says. Look into who are you? Have I seen myself? How I divided into 15 in myself? So one has to see himself. But this is one thing that is missing, absolutely missing. And what ultimately ends up in love. In love, you divide. In your love, you divide. And then you say that it's neither intellect nor actually you have understood that intelligence which has everything, the moment which is everything, the moment that passes so fast. Have I seen, done my homework myself? We can even we are trying to even classify everyone, including Krishnamurti, that he has done this and he has done that and he has done. He is playing with us. He's a serious student of. He was a serious student of life. We are all students of life, and we can learn a lot daily from nature. You don't have to go to anyone, because this is, as I wrote once, this is pedantry. So one has to actually, I want the real thing you will find in yourself. It is there potentially. You also know it is there. Thank you very much, friends. I have taken enough time.
Yeah, can I make a comment?
No, please let Harshad sir say on this, please. Waghmare, then you can say.
No, I don't have. I agree with Pradeep ji that
Yeah.
we many people can understand without reading Krishnamurti, and you will find in Upanishads, people go in the forest and they observe and they learn by watching the nature. So. All even Krishnamurti, I think he learned by observing nature and within oneself, everything very curiously looking. Because what happens that in the school when we go, we are encouraged to learn about many things which are outside, like science or history or mathematics, and so our mind is occupied to learn about the things which are outside, like it may be the sun or the galaxies, universe, or atom. And we are very good at understanding those. Even the scientists can penetrate into the atom, the nucleus, and nuclear energy. And the mind has a tremendous capacity to learn about the outside world, but when that mind doesn't understand itself, that why it gets angry or why there is a fear, when such questions become very important to a scientist or any human being, then a person begins to really learn about oneself, and then one can learn, read Krishnamurti and say, yeah, what he says is quite obvious. So, understanding will come only when we are able to go within ourselves. What we call I, who am I? That question which Raman Maharshi was asking, the same question, I think, as long as we have not asked that question, and when we ask that question, and when the mind really stops with curiosity looking, then some understanding insight may come. But it will not come by just reading and learning about the outside world. Inside there is a different world, and that we have to come in direct contact with and not escape from our own self, because human beings, they escape from their own mind by doing certain social work or political work or scientific work. No doubt all that work is required, but much more than that, as Krishnaji said to Kapra, that you are a human being first and the scientist later. So that human being, what we are, what kind of thoughts and feelings are going on within us, is it possible to see clearly our own mind and not just gather the information about science or the outside world? So this is what is lacking in our education, that when a student says it is very boring, at that time a teacher interested will ask the student, let us talk about boredom. What is boredom? How does it come? What is behind it? Or when somebody gets angry, what is anger? What is behind this anger? Why it comes? So Krishnaji was asking such questions, And I think very few people are interested in such questions. So that's why it becomes very difficult. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One more
Waghmare, now
thought.
you can say so many
Sushil
things
bhai,
you like.
Sushil
Waghmare,
bhai.
you are
Yeah.
welcome to say so. After that,
First of
Mr.
all,
Gopal. After that, Mr. Gopal.
first of all,
Hmm.
what Harshad sir is saying, I am also saying the same thing. I agree with Harshad sir. And my this exercise of today was also to show the limitations of the intellect, or if the instrument intellect is used as an instrument, then what are the problems? But as he said, any new reader, when he approaches the Krishnamurti teachings, he finds this difficulty because he has been trained in a particular fashion. He has been trained to learn science and all that, and to use his intellect as an instrument. But in Krishnamurti teaching, as he said, Harsha sir said, one has to go beyond it, and one has to use other tools like seeing, listening, observing, whatever he said. So, to overcome these difficulties, I just wanted to show the pitfall in the JK teachings, which also he has to see and consider. It is not very easy to see these pitfalls because people get confused, because there are so many things he said and at various places that, as Harshad sir said, there are so many contradictions, so many contradictory things and conflicts. So really, a new reader will get confused. But the his problem is he has to start where he is. So to start from where he has to go in this fashion only, and he has to really struggle in the starting. So that's why I just wanted to show some pitfalls, and really one has to go beyond the words. Then only he can understand what JK is really meaning, or what are his teachings. I would also like to address Pradeep ji. You have to really do communing with me, I think, because you said many things, but one has to see this thing also, that Krishnamurti, whenever he is asked what you said yesterday was like this, and today today you are saying like this. So he said, I am not that person, I have changed. So what reference he is saying that thing, that also we have to see. What is the from in what context he is saying that, that also has to see. And one has to be very much alert and aware in the whole lecture, and listen without any disturbance of his past thinking or thoughts or conditionings. So really we cannot be so emotional. We cannot understand Krishnamurti by becoming just emotional or highly intellectual or this. Arshad sir was right that one has to really open all his facets, or whatever we can say, to understand Krishnamurti, and then only he can go beyond the words. Thank you.
Thank you. You were agreeing to Harshad sir. Harshad sir was agreeing to Dr. Pradeep. But this is not the game of agreement or disagreement. Not these two. Mr.
Why are you
Gopal.
seeing? Why are you going beyond the words, sir?
Mr.
Why are
Gopal,
you seeing only
Mr.
game?
Gopal, Mr. Gopal, please follow. Ravi Kaushal, sorry, Ravi Kaushal. Just I could not distinguish between them. Ravi Kaushal, please. Please unmute and say Ravi.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Am I audible, sir?
yeah, you are audible.
Actually, I am a bit not agree with all people. So, uh, see, I see that Harshad sir many times talks about intelligence, and many times he talks in terms of the all the memories he has lived, all the experiences he has lived, and he's talking about intelligence. I mean, the this all the time. Why are you thinking in terms of memory? the exploration is always new, you know, and this thing and that somewhere I think Harshad sir has said that when there is silent mind, it listens and all that. If the mind is silent, why it wants to listen? So these are the things I see, and I don't understand the meaning of actually what does it mean by commute? Is it communion? Is it ekatmata or please correct me, Pradeep sir, if I'm wrong. I don't understand actually the meaning. The उसका एक अर्थ क्या है? Commute का हिंदी अर्थ क्या है? Pradeep sir.
Yes, yes.
Commute मतलब
The
communion है
only
क्या?
thing I would like to say, responding to Ravi, you see, first thing is it's a matter of sensitivity. Sensitivity is the first most important thing. And
In commute.
when you are suppose listening or seeing or reading anything, how sincerely, how much I am present there. Present means
Okay.
each everything. What my understanding is that everything, as Harshad Bhai was talking, when he could commune with redwood in California, redwood trees. So it means it's not a question of two persons only talking and communing with each other with the same question, with the same intensity and passion. These conditions cannot be measured. You see that whether it is the same passion, same intensity, because Krishnamurti has said like that, we go on using these words. But the fact is, are you sensitive enough? Why are you looking at something? Why are you listening at all to someone? That shows everything. That clarifies everything. Where am I going? What am I going for? Why I have joined JK? Why? What do I get or not get? Or is it
Yes, sir.
only sharpening? Because one more thing, when I want to make it clear, we always talk about things as they are, as if, but most of us, I see, that think that things as they are only in the outer world. Things as they are inside me also. Moment
Yes,
to
sir.
moment, what is happening to me. That is things as they are, if you are really interested.
Yes, sir.
If
Yes.
you are interested in analyzing whether this fellow who is a seer or a sage or a guru or whatever, if you are trying to analyze him, that what type of game he is playing, you can understand very well what understanding you are having with your own being.
No,
What
sir,
life
not
has told you in your own being. What am I doing? What for I am doing this? One has to be very clear, and things
definitely.
will change. Can you see things as they are? Means inside, outside, finished, merger, total. Observer is observed. Can you understand? Here, the observed
Okay,
is
sir.
outside. If this happens, then this happens. Suppose this happens, then this happens. So, case studies. Are we talking about case studies when a newcomer went to him? What he talked? When other fellow it came to him from a different country, what happened to him? What words he has used? We are not interested in words. You have to be only solely interested in the light you have yourself. That only will guide you. What else? What else is there? Words will not guide you. Krishnamurti, if you love him and follow him, he said nobody can give it to you.
But okay, I listen you. I have asked sir, what is the meaning of commute? Is it really communion? मतलब commute का हिंदी में अर्थ क्या होता है? मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ. Commute का हिंदी में अर्थ
कमलेश,
एकात्मता है या योग है? मतलब जिसको जो शास्त्रों में योग का एक वर्ड यूज किया गया है.
एक आत्म में
मतलब
आत्मा शब्द भी आ गया. अब फिर आत्मा पूछेंगे, आत्मा होती है क्या?
सर जस्ट मुझे उसका अर्थ चाहिए. We will
Kamlesh
ask
Modak,
उससे.
you had been doing this translation, transliteration and
So,
translation.
can I
Number of
say something here?
Communing, communion. I am asking. मैं clarity चाहता हूँ सर, इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ.
हाँ, मैं क्लैरिटी आपको दे सकता हूँ अगर आप चाहें.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
देखिए, ऐसा है कि जब हम एक्चुअली वो कम्युनिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, मतलब किसी से ट्यून करना, उसको एक पुराना वर्ड है हमारी हिंदी में तादात्म्य में, अगर आप समझ सकते हो तो. तादात्म्य मतलब ये होता है, तादात्म्य मतलब ये होता है कि आप किसी के साथ में इस तरह से ट्यून अप हो गए हैं कि उसके हृदय की बात और उसके जो हाव भाव है या उसके जो बॉडी लैंग्वेज है या उससे पूरी तरह से आप एकाकार सरीखे होकर, सरीखे एकाकार नहीं और एकाकार सरीखे होकर उसको समझ रहे हैं.
क्या बात है, बहुत
Identified.
सुंदर, बहुत सुंदर.
Identified.
एक प्रकार से आप उसको आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं.
Okay,
पर
okay.
उसके
Now,
आप ही
now
हैं,
the subject
आप
is.
ही हैं,
Okay.
लेकिन आप उसके शूज में जा रहे हैं, उसमें एम्पैथी भी आ गई,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
उसमें
I
दूसरी
got
चीजें भी आ
what you're
गई.
saying. I got what you're saying. Now this topic is commute with the teaching, right?
No, communing with teaching, sir. There is
तो
no
मेरे
commute
को,
word. I think you have
I
not
think
seen
maybe
the
I
topic itself.
Communing.
Communing.
communing. Okay, okay.
Communing,
So I was
yes.
wrong. Okay, okay.
So that
तो
immediately
communing,
means to commune.
तो आपने commute का मतलब तादाद में बताया, और तादाद में सरीखे जैसा, not एकात्मता जैसा. और अभी कम्यूनिंग का अर्थ क्या हुआ? कम्यूनिंग का अर्थ क्या एकात्मता है?
Nearly what you are understanding is correct. You have to be with the thing or the person or something like that, and then you can know about it by directly contacting that particular thing. That is called communion. Are you able to listen to me?
Okay. My question is,
Sir, please don't
Yes, sir.
convert it into a classroom, please. It is too much. It is the inattention which creates the entity which listens. It is the inattention which creates the entity which listens. I am not saying it. Krishnamurti is saying.
I don't know, but
Attention is not required. Sometimes inattention works.
this also case had. Anyhow, my question is that if you are using the word
exceptions also augment the rule.
Okay, my question is, can there be a possibility of the observer commune with that thing which you say that it is the whole structure? Can there be a possibility? Is there any bridge? Is there any communion? Can there be a possibility? We have only one thing, sir, every human being, and that is our mind. We listen through the mind. And with that thing, the listening is done by the observer most of the time. So I'm saying that how that thing which is limited commune with the whole. That is my question.
Can I answer this?
Let Waghmare, Harshad Parekh deal with this, please.
No, I don't have anything. I have said enough.
You have said enough, but whatever they are asking, would you please answer them? What he is saying, can you answer this?
No, I did not understand. If he can repeat.
No, just let him. If he repeats it number of times, you won't be able to understand. His question is not explainable. What he is saying, he is not able to explain it. So let us forget it, and then.
Okay.
Can I answer it?
I think he's talking about mind, the potential of the mind only. He doesn't want to go beyond that.
Then answer is no mind.
Mind.
Then answer is no mind. Answer is no mind.
Can I say
Anyhow,
something?
thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
In Buddhism, there is something mindful eating, mindful
Sahab, can I
walking,
say
mindful
something?
this and mindful that. That also requires attention. That also requires attention.
Speaker.
Mindful eating, mindful walking.
Jain sahab, can I say something?
Let Pradeep ji conclude, and then you say whatever you like. We will not take it as a conclusion. Okay?
because mind, of course, is important. You see, that's why in Buddhism, mindful walking and mindful eating is given a lot of importance. And Krishnamurti himself, while eating, he was very mindful, and he took a lot of time to take lunch and dinners. So there is that Kitchen Chronicle. If you read, you will find that everything mindfully done is a it's a it's a very useful thing in life. Going beyond doesn't mean that mindless you become and then you go beyond it. Mind works, but where
But I'm asking, sir, this is all the definitions of the mind, of the observer. See, my question is, where is the bridge? Where is the communion? How can the limited thing becomes the whole? Whatever it understands of about the whole is in its own language. वो उसका ही प्लेटफॉर्म में है.
Adeen, who is this Adeen? Would you please make a room for Adeen? Let Adeen say. Am I right pronouncing? Who is raising the hand?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, how to pronounce your name, please?
It's Adeen.
Adeen.
Adeen, yeah. So, so regarding communion, I think in normal relationship, we can feel sometimes a communion. So we know when someone actually really deeply cares about you, and when someone is not that interested in what happens to you. So in an indirect way, we know what is caring, what is communion in that way. So communion, what I understood from what Harshad ji said and Pradeep ji said, it is something non-verbal, and we cannot actually express it in terms of words, but it is a non-verbal connection. And Harshad ji mentioned about looking at our own minds, even Pradeep ji, when he talked about Dada Gawand, um, looking at our own mind. And so, one example, what I would like to share is, suppose there is a very strong emotion, something happens in one's life, someone passes away, or something, a big tragedy, and there is a big emotion in our mind. So, in such a situation, if we seek answers outside, we might go watch a movie, we can switch on the TV, we talk about politics. It doesn't solve that emotion. But if we are by oneself, if we go for a walk in nature, the thoughts, the emotions arises, we look at those, it disappears, or we sit quietly and the thoughts and emotions, feelings come up, and we look at that, and after some time it moves that thought and feeling, and there is a certain silence in which these thoughts and feelings move. So for me, that is what is communion. It is like the silence in which the thoughts can flower, and it is not something which can outside anybody can give by reading books. Krishnamurti, so as Harshadji gave the example of Kabir, so it's not something outside reading, but looking at our own minds, but to have that space and not to escape from these deep emotions we might have by just, getting involved or intellectually just reading, but not looking at ourselves. So that was my what I got from today's discussion. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Should I end it at this note?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks to
Thank you,
everybody.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.